Dara is an example of not only can we thrive because of our situations, we can also share it and help others become better because of it. And I promise you, this conversation will leave you changed. Dara, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Brett.
How are you? You have this really, did you just do yoga? I mean, you have this energy that's coming through this computer like, wow, it's total zen right now.
Yeah, I just came from the studio.
I
I'm a little
feel
flushed.
it. Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I made notes because, with you have so much to share, and I want to really capitalize on your story in a way that helps other people not only relate, but inspires them to discover the best version of themselves. So let's talk about this for a second. What is it that people don't really realize about you yet, as far as what you've been through? If they're just tuning in, learning about you, what was the heaviest weight you've recently carried that has changed you and helped you become a better person? Let's start with that.
That's a huge question, Brett. So I think that the heaviest weight that we carry as human beings can be things that we've been pulling along with us for our entire lives, right? And the more we carry a burden, the more we sit in cycles that are probably not good for us, the heavier those things become, right? And so when something negative happens in your life, our tendency as humans is to revert back to those things that we were using as coping mechanisms as children. And they don't actually always really serve us anymore, right? So I think the thing that, I don't know if there's anything terribly, I've been laid off from a job that I'm absolutely passionate about. That was devastating, but I'm going to be fine. And the reason I can be fine losing a huge part of my outward identity is because I know who I am in here, right? Like I've done so much inner healing and inner work that this is it sucks, but it's a blip in the road. And it doesn't even compare to some of the things that I've had to go through in my life. So.
And how was okay, that's good. That's another good point. So some of the things you've been through, I know I got your bio, I read through it. And like I said, it shook me. It inspired me. There's a lot of emotions that went along with that story you shared with me. How was your soul tested in that process?
I think that, how was my soul tested? I think that I don't know why, and I don't know what I believe about divine things or whatever, but I don't know why the universe decided that they were going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at me when I was so young. Like when I was 11, my father, who had struggled with addiction for a really long time, overdosed and he almost died. And that was the first I learned about his addiction. And so crash course in not only just about losing a parent in a very formative year, but also learning about the darkness that addiction can take you to. And then the decades and decades of recovery and healing that have come along with that. Shortly after that, my mom passed away of breast cancer and left me alone with my stepfather, who was my abuser. And so there was just a lot of uphill, pulling, trying to pull myself out of this muck and mire. And I think something that really gave me the will to carry on was knowing that I didn't have to live life alone. Like I have an incredible support network, extended family, really great friends who were like, yeah, this sucks, but I promise you'll come out the other side. It's not going to be great, but you can do it. Like, don't. And I did a TED talk and it was titled, I Should Be a Statistic. Because if you look at adverse childhood events, I have a lot of those on the list, right? Yeah. And I've turned out to not be a statistic. I've actually become very successful in my life and very fulfilled. And I think a big part of it was having people in my corner who believed that I could.
So you said something I'm going to touch on. Stepfather was the abuser.
Yep.
After mom passed away, is this when it started?
No. Well before, actually. So yeah, it's a really complicated, because of my father's addiction. I never lived with him. My parents divorced when I was young, and my stepfather came into the picture when I was, I want to say probably 6 or 7 years old, pretty young. He was always emotionally abusive, and then it turned into sexual abuse around 10. And then it kind of continued on into like just a power trip. Do you know what I mean? And by the time my mom passed away, I was 14 and I was kind of old enough that he wasn't interested in me anymore, but he was just mean and angry. And so that was just, yeah,
Did
felt
mom
like,
know?
no,
Did mom know?
no, she never knew.
Never took
No,
on her death.
no.
Never. Okay, so we got to talk about this a little bit. So, why didn't you share this with mom?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why does anyone keep abuse a secret? I was scared. I was scared of what he would do to me. I was scared of what he would do to her. I was scared of, like, I have a younger sister and she was a part of the equation as well. And I was just scared of what would happen to my family and the stability that we had. You know, we had a home, we had, looking in, we had a pretty regular life, right?
Yeah.
So, and then also, I would say, like, at 10 years old, I actually didn't know that it wasn't normal. I didn't know that I was being abused until later on. I was like, oh my God, that was not right. That wasn't the thing that parents are supposed to do.
Yeah.
So,
So he's not
okay.
saying keep it quiet during the whole process. He's not saying don't tell anybody. He's not telling you not to say anything.
He always talked about having something that was just for us because we trusted each other. They spun it as like, this is our special relationship.
And to this day, how's your relationship with him now, today, as we speak?
I haven't spoken to him since I was 16 and I am 44. So I left home at 16 and I never looked back. I mean, I have a relationship with my younger sister who is his daughter, but that's the only connection I have to him. And she doesn't speak to him either.
So when you started realizing this wasn't good, wasn't correct, wasn't right, wasn't appropriate, did you have those feelings? Oh shit! Now it was my fault that it happened, like so many women do.
I
Or
don't know.
not only women, people who are sexually abused.
Yeah, I think I had the feeling that it was my fault that I didn't do anything to stop it because I was a kid and I didn't know. But that's not a piece that I don't carry that with me.
I can tell.
Um,
You know what? I mean,
right?
as I'm listening to you, I'm feeling you. I don't feel that you're holding on to a lot. I really don't feel that. Whereas when I talk to, I've done this enough now, not only here at the podcast, but just people in general, and they hold on to it. And it's the energy that they're giving off that you can tell they're still really holding on to this, almost
Yeah.
like the guilt and it's the pain in the body. And just I've been on with you for 8 minutes and 12 seconds, and in that short amount of time, I feel that you have let a lot of this shit just go.
Yeah. And that's with a lot of hard work, right? It took so much work to be able to recognize the things that I was doing, like patterns that I was falling into in terms of, especially patterns in relationships, where I was being unauthentic or self-destructive. And it was because I was trying to protect myself from the harm that I had already experienced. And, a great deal of soul searching, a great deal of I've done lots of therapy and things like that too, but like a great deal of that sort of inner looking inside and observing that this is actually not serving me. I'm not going to be able to live a healthy, happy, authentic life if I'm holding on to things that weren't my fault, that happened to me in the past. And yeah, of course they still pop up. It still affects me. It's never going to go away. It's part of the fabric of who I've become, but it's not going to be something that I will ever allow to hold me back. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly. I know what you mean. And then my next question is, okay, so how do you know once you start feeling it? Okay, how do you know to get in therapy and not start drinking? And how do you know to help heal yourself rather than keep beating yourself up and go down the wrong path? How do you know that at such a young age, a ripe young age? I know you're a little older, but still, you're still young, and you knew you had something inside. You said, no, I need to seek help. I need to do some soul searching. I need to heal myself. That's a gift. I'm thinking that's a gift because not a lot of people have that within them. They got to go through so much hell before they finally get to that point. It seems like your road to the healing was a lot shorter than most.
It's possible. I mean, I definitely did try to go down roads that were not beneficial for me. But I think one of the biggest things that I would say was a catalyst for me stepping into the responsibility and taking responsibility for myself was that I was kicked out of my home at 16 and I had to grow up in a hurry. I had to find a job. I had to find a place to live. I had to find a way to pay bills, and I had to complete high school. And I was not going to, that was hard. It took me a minute to pick myself up off the floor there. But I think I never gave myself the option to fall down. And by the time I was 16, I was kind of done with the partying because I was like, well, I guess I better take care of myself. And
Wow.
the fact of the matter is too, I'm very maternal. Like that's a huge part of my personality. My sister is 8 years younger than me. And I knew that if I just disappeared into the ether, she wouldn't have someone to be there for her when inevitably things went bad for her. And so that was a huge motivator for me too, was fighting for my sister.
Do you have gratitude for that? Because I'm listening to you again. I'm listening. There's so many people who've been in your situation, who are on the streets, who are messed up on drugs, who are not doing what you did. And I think you're the anomaly. You're not the norm for the situation
Mm-hmm.
you've been through. So do you ever sit back, reflect, and say, you know what, God, how did I get out of that and get right into a spiritual journey rather than not being so fucked up by it? Because there are
Yeah.
so many people that can just torment their life for such a long time. And you, like I said again, do you have gratitude for how quickly that you healed from that?
Yeah. And I mean that the healing journey continues to this day. I think it's
Sure.
always going to be a thing that keeps going. There's always going to be something that crops up or a wound that's opened up again by an event or something that happens. But I'm immensely grateful that I have the will to still continue on. I have this, I don't know, like just some kind of innate strength. And I was just thinking about, my dad, his recovery. So he was an addict and had an overdose. He had a stroke. It put him in the hospital, and he should have died. He should have died, but he didn't.
Wow.
And he actually like walked out of the hospital with his own strength and his own legs. And stroke victims don't often have that. And then he went on this whole recovery arc. And watching my dad, and he was very honest with me about it from the get-go, watching my dad recover from addiction and seeing the strength and fortitude that he had, and his childhood was way worse than mine. Like just watching him kind of rise out of the ashes, really, it was the most inspiring thing for me. And to this day, I'm like, he's clean, and it's just one of the most wonderful things. He's a wonderful grandfather to my kids, and that's why I think that was a huge part of my motivation to not go down that path.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, it scared the shit out of me. I didn't want that to happen to me.
Does dad know about stepdad?
Yep, yep.
Okay, let's talk about that conversation. How did you approach him and say, look, here's what happened to me, and what was his reaction? Because
Oh gosh.
I have a son, okay, and I often think if I had a daughter, or even my boy, anybody lays their hand on my fucking kid, you're going to see a different side of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So overprotective for a girl, perhaps, but you just don't do that to a child. And there's something, we all have a switch, right? And I believe that would be my switch. That would be flipped
Absolutely.
if anything happened to
Yeah.
my son, or
Yeah.
if I had a daughter. What did
He
dad
tells
say?
me he tells me all the time, and he told me then, he tells me now, he said, if I weren't your only parent left, and if you didn't have only me as a parent to rely on, I would have gone and I would have killed that motherfucker. That's what he says to me.
Sure.
uh,
Yeah.
it's okay that I
I mean,
swore, but
and that's being mild.
yeah. And I he's told me he's planned it more than once. And you're like, Dad, like, I need you. I need you here. And I think that was his, because he's like, I can't go to jail. I got a kid that I got to, take care of. And there's that. So I'm grateful that he didn't really act on that impulse, but
Did they ever
it was.
were they ever, I don't want to say confrontation, but did you ever meet him and talk with
I
him?
don't
Nothing?
know.
Huh?
I don't know. Like if they did, I'm unaware. But my stepfather moved to a different city. So it was like distance and we didn't know kind of where he was. And there was a period of time when he kept my younger sister from me, so I wasn't in contact with her at the time either.
Hmm.
And so I actually didn't know where he was, and I don't think my dad did either. So that actually probably saved his life.
Yeah, by moving.
Hmm.
The Canadian Mafia was on his ass, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my dad always tells me that he knows a lot of bikers.
Uh huh.
Okay,
That's exactly what
no,
I'm going at. That's exactly what I was referring to. Those guys, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway. So how are you now as far as, because when that happens to somebody, so when you get involved with in a relationship, you have kids
I do.
and your spouse married.
Hmm.
Okay, so when you meet this person, are you saying, "Here's what happened"? Are you sharing the backstory right away, letting that person know where you've been and what the work you
Yeah.
have to go through to make this relationship work?
Yeah,
What's
because
that
it
look
affects
like?
a lot of facets of a relationship. So
Sure.
I'm in my second marriage. I'm in the correct marriage. My first marriage, though, I was actually still going through all of that when I met that person, and I had I had pressed charges, gone through court cases, and the court cases were still wrapping up when I met my first husband, and or the only husband I had. And he knew right away because I was like mired in court at the time. And so that was apparent very quickly, and I'm really grateful because he was a very supportive person. And then in my second marriage, when I met my now current wife, we were very, very good friends before we got together. And, those are, you kind of share things about your life and like where you came from. And she actually knows, I met her through all of my childhood friends, and they know
Mhm.
everything about me. So it's kind of like hey, remember that time you got kicked out of house? And she was like, what? So yeah,
Right.
those are things, but it affects, it affects physical relationships as well, because there's like things that you might hold back because you're scared of getting hurt. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you? So do you have? What are your feelings towards men then? I guess that's the next question, because after what you've been through, is like, fuck, I'm done with men.
I have some of my best friends are men. I have some really beautiful relationships with the men in my life, and I'm just not attracted to them. That's all.
Have you
That
ever
was
been?
just no,
Never. Do you
no.
think that had anything to do with the feelings you had towards stepdad?
Who knows?
Could be, right?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, who knows why we are the way we are?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it just, I fell into heteronormativity when I was a kid, and that's just what was expected. And I wanted kids, and that's what happened. But
Did you
no,
adopt?
I'm grateful. Hmm?
Did you adopt?
No, I had my own kids. Yeah,
Okay.
so they're both my girls. I have my oldest is 20. My youngest is
Wow.
15. She'll be 16 in a few months. Yeah.
It happens so quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
So
They grow up way
fast.
too fast.
Mine
And they're
just turned
way better
11.
people than I will ever be.
They are. Well, look who they have as a role model. Come on,
One
right?
hopes that you're okay.
Yeah. So I mean, so you're big in yoga, and I read your bio here. At
Mhm.
first, you were not really that big into yoga, but what happened? What happened when you were introduced to yoga? What's changed inside you?
I found I found something very special. So I went to a yoga class at a gym. I was like, oh, this looks cool. I don't love the gym. I don't love working out. It's not my
Mm.
jam. I'm not particularly athletic, but I was like, you know what? Maybe that would be nice. It feels like it's a little bit of a slower pace. It's actually can be very physically challenging, which I found out very quickly. I was super sore, but I
Good.
just went, and I thought, what what is this? Like, this isn't a workout. This is spiritual. This is deep. And the more I went, the more I fell in love with just like everything that is yoga. Because I know a lot of people say, I do yoga. It means like people think that it's like, I do a workout. I have a mat. I do postures. I hold poses. I do balances. I stand on
Mhm.
my arms. Like, that's a part of it. But there's this whole like vast philosophy that comes with it. And when I can tell you, like, if I'm standing on the mat or I'm moving on my mat, and my body and my breath and my muscles and my joints and everything is moving in tandem, I feel at one with myself.
Yep, I've
I
heard that before.
feel not a disconnect, right? And we
Right.
can so easily dissociate and disconnect from what's happening in our present, and our brains can spiral and go places that are not healthy for us. Yoga brings me back to this moment in time, in my body, with my breath, on my mat, with the universe, and it just feels really powerful. So that just got me. I couldn't stop after that.
And you made a career out of it.
So I do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, but teaching yoga is one of the things, and actually focusing a lot on, because I'm a woman of a certain age, focusing a lot on helping women who are experiencing perimenopause, and how yoga can be a tool to help you through difficult bodily changes as well. Yeah.
What are you telling the little 10-year-old girl, your 10-year-old self, when she's going through that traumatic experience with stepdad? What are you telling her now today? What are you sharing with her, comforting her, reassuring her? What words? Because there's people listening right now need to hear this, because they haven't dealt with it as much as you have. They're not where you are. They've been through what you've been through, maybe a little worse, maybe not as bad, whatever they've been through, but they're not where you are. Because you, again, you're probably tired of me saying this, but you are very well spiritually developed. So what are you sharing with the person who's not so spiritually developed as some advice? Say, hey, listen, here's my support. Here's what I can tell you. What does that sound like?
Well, the first thing I would say to my 10-year-old me would be, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. Actually, you're going to be better. You're going to be better than you think you are. And then the second thing is, everything that you need in order to thrive is intrinsically in you. It's here. You just have to find it and tap into it. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your intuition. You have to trust your gut when something doesn't feel right. You got to know it's not right. And so that's one thing. Like, you're going to be okay. You're actually going to be more than okay. You're going to get through this. You're not just going to survive. You're going to thrive later. Not because of this, but in spite of this. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to connect with other humans, because the human connection is one of the most powerful things that we can find. People who will support us and know that we're, and it's a reciprocal relationship where you're in their corner and they're in yours. Find your people, and there's almost nothing you can't do. There's almost nothing you can't do, is what I'm going to say. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. At the same time, I will say that, it's so much easier not to do the work than to do the work. So, right. So the difference is the amount of work it takes to get to the other side pales in comparison to a life of not doing the work. There's either you're going to do the work and it's going to take effort and a lot of soul searching and get through it and then come out the other side completely different, or choose, I'm not going to do the work and have to live with that the rest of your life. And that's hard.
It is. It's worth it though. Like, I mean, there's nothing that's good in life that doesn't take hard work.
That's right.
I truly believe that. Like, if there's anything that you want, if there's anything that you need in your life, it's not just going to fall in your lap. That's the way I think. You got to work for things. And if you're not willing to put the work in, then who suffers?
Right.
You do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then by proxy, people who depend on you and the people who care about you. And I wasn't about to be a crazy mess raising daughters. I wasn't about to be the person that was passing my trauma down to my kids. Now, I make mistakes. I'm sure I've done things that have, made my kids feel bad, but I don't think that I've passed down that significant amount of trauma that I experienced to my children, and they've lived happy and healthy lives.
So there you go. What do you wish you would have done differently that you obviously can't go back and undo it, but looking back, what would you have done differently than you did?
I would have told someone.
Yeah. So I want everybody to hear that. I want you to hear what she's saying is that even though she did not say anything, looking back, she had a do-over, then she would say something.
I would.
Right. And how would you go back and who would you tell without feeling, okay, I'm scared, I'm fearful of what might happen, but I'm going to go through it anyway. I'm going to share this. And who would you share that with? Yeah,
I wish I would have told my mom. Because my mom she was very strict. She was very, she was a wonderful parent. But I was also I was scared to ruin her life. But as a mother now, if something like that were happening to my kids, if my spouse were hurting my kids, you better believe we would be out the door and my kids would come first. So that perspective now makes me think, well, of course, that would be what my mom would have thought. She would have completely believed me, and she would have done something, right? She would have protected me. And I was scared that I was going to hurt her. I was scared that I was going to destroy her marriage. But as a mother now, no, kids first, every
Right.
single time, right?
Yes, agreed. And what's that conversation sound like with those girls? Sit them down at dinner, have a conversation. Is an ongoing conversation. I mean, it's probably a little differently when I told my son, and I said, listen, if anybody ever puts their hands on you, Dad's going to take their hands off their body, and that's probably not the best way to go about it. But there's a way of going, and that's not the only way I said it, but I've said that to him casually, so he knows. Okay, that's not right.
No.
How do you sit down with your girls after what you've been through and have this conversation with them, raising awareness and letting them know this isn't appropriate?
Well, I mean, that's the first thing. Like when my kids started asking about sex and sexuality, I made sure that they understood what was a good touch and what was a bad touch. And I made sure that they understood that their bodies belonged to them. And if somebody touched them without their permission, I needed to know, and it needed to stop. And I have always been really honest with my kids. Age appropriately honest. Obviously, I'm not going to tell a 3-year-old that I was abused, but as we grew older and I established like rapport and relationships with my kids, I've always been really honest about what happened to me, and if anything should ever happen to them, they know that I'm their safe place to land, no matter what it is, whether it's someone hurting them or they're going through a hard time. I need to be the first person that they call, because I will always be the person in their corner. And we've had thousands of those conversations as my girls have aged. And I think we'll still continue to have them as my kids move into adulthood.
Did mom ever have that conversation with you?
No. It's like that sort of, we don't talk about our feelings because we're Gen X. And, it didn't. But also, I don't think she was around long enough to have a chance to have those conversations. She got really sick when I was a young teenager. And so her sole focus was survival. And there just wasn't room for those conversations in her life, I don't think.
Was he abusing her as well, physically, verbally?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Was he a narcissist?
Yep.
Yeah. It's very common these days. Unfortunately, it's very common, right?
Sadly, I know.
So where are you at now? Where's Dara now? I mean, as far as you're getting up every morning, your non-negotiables. How are you keeping this? And how are you practicing staying spiritually grounded? And how do you know right now that your kids have not gone through what you've been through? Are you 1,000% sure they have not?
I don't think you can ever be 1,000% sure. I don't think you can, but I would say I'm 999% sure. I mean, my kids and I have a very good relationship from my perspective, and I honestly think that they tell me the truth. I trust them, and I know that they have really good heads on their shoulders, and I trust their judgment, and I trust the choices that they make, because we communicate, and we communicate so much. Of course, there's stuff my kids don't tell me. My youngest was just saying to me the other day, she said, well, I have to talk to my stepsister because there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to tell her. And there's some stuff that I got to tell her that I don't really want to talk to you about. I was like, that's okay. You don't have to talk to me about absolutely everything, but you know that you can. She's like, yeah, of course I know that I can, but it's, it's teenage stuff. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. You're allowed to have things like that for yourself. But I'm fairly certain that they would tell me if anything was going on. And anytime there has been anything happening in my kids' lives, like my oldest daughter was bullied when she was in junior high school and like middle school, and it was pretty bad. And she talked to me about it. And so you hope that they go to that. But when I think about daily habits and non-negotiables and things that like are really, really important to make sure that I stay grounded and stay healthy, it's I have to listen to myself, right? I have to trust that there's something in me that knows what's right and wrong, that knows what's right and wrong for me, what feels good and what doesn't. And there's a difference between do what feels good and do what's right, because what's right can take work and can be difficult, doesn't always feel good, but you know that it's right. Yes. You know what I mean?
I do. I
Yeah.
do know what
But
that means.
I think you really have to just honor yourself. And I don't say it in a way that's like I have this huge ego or I'm more important than everybody else in my world. Everybody else is so important to me that if I am not the best version of myself, I can't be what I need for what they need from me.
And
Does that
that's
make sense too?
yeah, yeah. Let's see the shirt, bold. That's fucking bold. Because
I love it.
in a world that wants to shape you and put labels on you and identify, you have to stay grounded. And what is
Mhm.
that? How do you stay grounded to your authentic self when the world is trying to shape you into something they think you should be? And I don't really see. I ask that question because I think after what you've been through, there could be some people who place judgment upon you and for how you're living your life, right? So how do you
Mhm.
stay grounded in who you are and who Dara is?
I mean, I'm the only one in here, right? And ultimately, it doesn't matter what other people think of me. It honestly doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change my intrinsic value. It doesn't change the fact that I have value because I'm alive and I'm a human. The only people whose opinions of me matter are the ones that I hold close to me. And I have chosen family
Mhm.
who are chosen because of who they are and what kind of people they are. And then I have my family who are the most wonderful people. And those are the ones that I think are the most important. But when it all comes down to it, I have to feel right. I have to feel right with my choices, with my life, with who I am, with how I live. And if I don't feel right, then I change it. And it's not up to anybody else. It's not up to any other human on the planet what's
Right.
right for me. And I live the same way too. Like other people can have that same thing. You live the way that feels right to you. As long as you and I are not hurting each other, we're good.
Did you get some people in your family who judge you because of the lifestyle you're living?
No,
Never.
mm-mm,
That's
no.
great. That. I mean, and how do you, what do you tell the person right now who's saying, "Man, I want to. I'm not sure if I'm going to be married to a man or a woman. I don't know if I don't have that attraction towards the opposite sex, but I can't say this to. I can't say it to my parents. I just feel bad about this. We got to break the fucking stigma, not only around mental health, but about everything. Let the person live their life. But as you know, there's pressure. So how do you? What
Definitely.
words of advice are you going to give somebody who's feeling that pressure? They can't be themselves and share how they really feel because they're afraid of the judgment.
Right. Well, I think that there's two sides to it. On one side, you have to do what is right, and you have to protect yourself too, right? And so if it's not the right thing to be out with certain people, maybe you're not. But also, you need to remember that that's going to hinder depth of relationship, right? If you're not being your full and authentic self, you're not actually going to be able to give to a deeper relationship with that person, and you have to make those choices. If that's going to protect you from hurt or pain, um, by all means. But I don't know how sustainable that is. I'm really, really fortunate where I live. The laws protect me, and my family is very open minded. And I have a very wonderful, wonderful circle of friends. But not everybody in my area feels the same way. But what it really comes down to is there isn't a one size fits all for a situation like that. If you want to have a deep relationship with a parent, for example, you got to tell them who you are. And I
And and
think
and,
parents
and
know who their kids are if they have a relationship anyway. Like for example, my grandmother is a very traditional person. Like she grew up and is very, religious and those kinds of things. And she's very involved in her church and it's really wonderful. She's got this beautiful, wonderful faith. Um, I was really worried about telling her because of all of the religious things that go along with perspectives and things like that. But she's also my grandmother and loves me no matter what. And I, when I sat down and I had that conversation with her, I said, Grandma, I'm not attracted to men. I'm marrying a woman. And she's like, oh, well, thanks for telling me. I love you.
yeah,
And she doesn't try to tell me to change. She may or may not agree with my choices, and that's fine. But she doesn't disagree with who I am as a person. She knows who I am. She loves me. And we just we live with it and we live with each other and we love each other. And that's what is over and above everything. So,
And I think we've come a long way in that area. I really do. Not
yeah,
this day and age, I really think we have come a long way. Let's go back 10, 15, 20 years ago. No, it's still pretty. Now where we're at this day and age, I think it's more acceptable and understand. Look at who cares? It's about the foundation is built on love, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And allowing that person to express themselves in an authentic way.
Yeah, totally.
Agreed. What does bold mean for you? Like bold, for you to get on, why did you Be Fucking Bold podcast? What's this guy want to talk about? Like what is, so bold, obviously something got your attention and bold to you. Give us your definition of being bold and how you've applied it into your own personal life.
I think the boldest thing people can do is to be who they are, and don't hold it back. Like, don't dull yourself for other people. Don't, if someone tells you that you're too much, then they're not right for you. Go and be too much. Go and be a lot. And like, really allow yourself to fully embody everything that you are, because it's a fucking beautiful thing. It really is. Love yourself in a world that tells you not to, in brains that tell you not to. Honestly, and do things that help you grow. And I think that we as a society can get so caught in the rut of production. Like, I have to be productive. I need to produce. I need to go and work my 9 to 5. Then I need to go and do this. And then I need to go and do this. And we get just like, and so that we're just like moving through life, living, making motions. We're not actually living it. And so I think that the boldest thing you can do is to step into the truth of who you are and be who you are, and not just be who you are, but like accept it, observe it, love it, don't
Embrace
hide it. Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the boldest things you can do, and work on yourself. And the thing, like, I really, when I started learning about yoga and philosophy and the movement of yoga and all of the deep breathing and meditation and all of those kinds of things, I also learned that there's a whole bunch of science that says that practicing yoga can actually help rewire some of the negative things that our brains do after trauma. So I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's not something that affects me as much as it used to, because I literally, through the practice of meditation, breathing, movement, and self-acceptance through yoga, I've been able to rewire some of those physical parts of my brain. It's really wonderful. If you've read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it's groundbreaking and works for not just CPTSD, but also PTSD and people who have gone to war and things like that as well. Yoga is a wonderful tool for that. So find a tool that helps you do the hard work, and don't be afraid, because hard is rewarding.
It is. It's so rewarding. And going back to your early childhood, when you started having these feelings for women and not for men, did you question yourself? Like, wait a minute, something I'm not feeling, because we're brought up, right? We're raised in a certain way, and when you start going against tradition, what feelings do you have that left you feeling a bit confused at that point?
Yeah, I never quite felt like I fit anywhere.
Oh.
Right? I didn't fit the mold. I wanted to. I tried to. I pretended to, but it didn't ever fit. So I always felt like there was something missing, that there was something wrong, that there was something not wrong with me, but like wrong in a situation or in a relationship. And there was always an element that wasn't quite right. So yeah. And obviously growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of fear of being different.
That's right. We got to talk about TED Talk. So let's talk about that. How you did a TED Talk, and how did it all start?
Well, it was the college that I worked at actually did TED Talks, and they did them every year. And I was talking with the wonderful human who facilitated all of them. We were having coffee one day, and I said, I think I have something to say. Do you think I could do a TED Talk? And she said, I mean, yeah, like that's actually a really great idea. Let's talk about it. And so she and I literally had a weekly coffee and coaching. She coached me for about a year to develop the idea for the talk, and to morph it. It morphed and changed and grew and did a whole bunch of different things. And it landed on the idea of like tools for resilience. And oddly enough, that was in February of 2020. 1 month later, the world completely changed. And the need for resilience was more than ever. So it felt very timely. But yeah, kind of just it was an opportunity that was there. So I said, hey, I have a message. And she said, yeah, you do. So let's do it.
That's awesome. And
Yeah, it was fun.
what college was it?
It's called Bow Valley College.
And
It's in
where?
Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, Calgary,
Mhm.
Alberta. Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Were you
Yeah.
nervous?
Sure. Totally. But
Yeah.
also like in my professional life, I'm a teacher. So I am speaking in front of audiences all the time. I present at, conferences and do all of that kind of stuff. But this is different. Like it was personal. It was highly personal. It wasn't just me teaching about a topic, which I can do. That's fine. Easy peasy. I've been doing it 25 years. But to be vulnerable in front of an audience and now it's online. You can find it everywhere. That was definitely made me nervous. Yeah.
And let's go right to how long was your TED Talk? How many, was it an hour?
No, it was like 14 minutes or 12 minutes. I think they tell you to keep it around 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I probably talked more than I needed to.
Well, you had a lot to say. And in that
Yeah.
14 minutes, if you could give somebody the short version, the heart of that topic, what do you think it would be? The core message.
Find the tools that help you tap into your own resilience. A lot of the stuff that you and I have just been talking about, Brett, is what my talk was about. And it broke down just a couple of things that I did in order to make sure that I was living my best life and coming through all of the abuse and crap that I had to go through. And one of them was like just honest self-reflection, be real, see yourself. And then the second part was do the work. And
Yeah.
and that's exactly what we've been talking about and so it was kind of like my journey of figuring out what made me tap into my own resilience.
What does Dara's best life look like? And here's what I say. I say that perfection is an illusion, but excellence is attainable. And
Totally.
in the pursuit of excellence, we discover the best version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So in this process, the pursuit of excellence to discover the best version of yourself, what does that look like for you?
I think every day can be your best life. And not every day is going to be good. It's not going to always go the way you want it to. But every day I can choose happiness. Every day you can choose something to be grateful for, tap into that. And that doesn't mean that you ignore the things that you have to work on or ignore the things that are hard. I mean, I'm going through a bit of a time right now. I've lost my job. I really loved it. I don't know really what I want to do now. I don't know where my direction is. Like, what am I, like, that was my 9 to 5, my breadwinner job. So like, I'm 44 years old. I'm trying to figure out my life again and I'm pivoting my career and it's really weird, but it doesn't mean that I can't still live my best life every single day.
Right.
I can choose to be happy anyway.
It's a choice. By the
Mm-hmm.
way, Colonel Sanders was 65 when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. I've got some time then.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Choice. The greatest power we have as human beings is the power of choice. My
Yeah.
son is 11 years old. I drill that in his head every single day. I said, Cash, listen, buddy, you have the power of choice. The greatest power we have as human beings is the power of choice. The power of choice is how we're going to look at something, the perspective we give it. And the choice is to either let it beat us up or become better because of it. And that's such a great word you just used. Choose greatness. Choose,
Yep.
make it a choice because you have that power, and that power can be work so much. It can work so well for you, and it can work so well against you. And I've been in both
Totally.
sides of it. I
Yep.
really have.
You can also choose like how you react to things too. You can't choose circumstances all the time and you can't choose what others are going to do, but you can always choose how you deal with it,
That's
how
right.
you face it, how you react to it. That's huge.
Respond rather than react.
Yep.
So your job, you're saying you lost your job as a teacher?
Yep.
So what's on your radar? What are you thinking? Like, okay, maybe are you taking this as a sign. Okay, well, maybe that was it. That was my time to be that. Now the next chapter is being written, and the next chapter can be so much greater. And what's on their radar for making that next chapter? What are you looking
Oh,
at?
that's a tough one. I have applied for dozens of jobs in different areas, but I think what it really comes down to is I need to do something with the 40-hour work week that actually makes the world better. I can't just go and work at a job and come home. And I think that's really wonderful for a lot of people, but that's not how I'm wired. And I need to find something that really ignites my passion, inspires me, and helps the community that I live in. So whatever that looks like is, and I've got a few things going on. I'm actually going to be starting my own podcast. It's kind of funny with a friend of mine, or it's his idea. It's his podcast. He's asked me to co-host. So I'm actually not starting anything. I'm just joining in on the fun, to help the LGBTQ community in my area. But it's also, I can delve into more of teaching yoga and helping people in that community. I've just launched a website called Dara MacKay Consulting, where I do like educational consultation for organizations who might want to learn a little bit more about how to, do sensitivity training or diversity training, and making sure that people understand other perspectives, encouraging healthy debate and conversation. So those are sort of directions that I want to go to. But in the meantime, I'm just looking for what opportunities there are. And then if one of them feels like a good opportunity, then I'll, move in that direction.
What if you never were let go of your current position? Okay, let's say you weren't let go. You probably would retire in that field, correct? Maybe I'm going a lot longer.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
What if your brain says, well, look at all the things I would have missed out on. What if I wasn't let go? Then I wouldn't be doing this. And the reason I say that, because when I went through my 5 years of debilitating depression, paralyzed anxiety, major suicidation, chronic insomnia, and PTSD, I get hit with all of it at one time in the period of my life. Yeah. I'd never be doing this. I would never wish what I went through on anybody. Yeah. But I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I came out of it a different person. If I didn't get hit with that, I would be going down the same road I was going down, and not be living my best life, a fulfilling life, or recognizing or discovering the best version of myself. So at some point I had to say, okay, fuck it. Listen, this is not happening to me. It's happening for me. This is not to my detriment. It's to my benefit. I kept saying that over and over through the darkest days of my life. I kept having to say that when 99% of me was trying to take myself out, looking in the mirror, thinking about ending my life. Is this it? Is this how it's going to end? And I had to ask myself the question, what's going to happen next? I don't know. But listen, this is not happening to me. It's happening for me over and over again. And this could very well be happening for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You were using a mantra and rewiring your brain right there. That's really powerful work that you did.
It was amazing.
It's just where you see an opportunity. You can make any circumstance into an opportunity to be better, do better, have better, explore more, or grow. Like, not everything that's negative has to end in negative, right? No. And yet it's hard. I'm sad. Of course I'm sad. I really loved what I did, and that's okay. I'm not allowed to feel sad about it. That's all right. That doesn't mean that I can't pick myself back up and use this circumstance to my advantage, right? And I think that that's a really powerful way to look at the world.
That's a great attitude to have, because some of the best things come out of the worst experiences.
Totally.
You're right. And you know that. You know that. So what do you want to share with people? First of all, how can we find you? How can people find who are not hip to you right now, who are not on to you? How can they find you? Where are you at? I know you're on TikTok.
I am on TikTok. It's like this small little account on TikTok. My handle is the Queer Yogi. And it's just, I just go by Dara M on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Old People Facebook, which is wonderful. I'm actually not on it too much, but it connects to Instagram, so it auto posts, which is nice.
Right.
I have a website for my educational services. It's just my first name, last name, consulting.com. So DaraMackayConsulting.com. And where else am I at? I'm all over the place.
You're on the
YouTube. I have a YouTube. I have a YouTube channel for yoga. That's what I should tell you.
There you go. Go ahead. What is it?
It's I can look it up, but it's the Queer Yogi as well. So the Queer Yogi is like my sort of username for most of the platforms, and I post free practices, breaking down poses, and like shorter ones and longer ones, things that show how poses in yoga can be made more accessible for different kinds of bodies and different body shapes. So I'm not as regular at posting as I should be, but now that I've got a little more time on my hands, I probably will be. So free content there.
Do you know where I see you? I'm going to give you free advice, okay?
I love it.
I'm going to give it to you. Here's what I see you doing. I see you being, and I don't want to put you in a box, but I see you being a version of a life coach because you have that energy and people are drawn to you. You also have the yoga experience. So I see you, your next venture, your next chapter, I see is you're going to be involved working with people, sharing your experiences. I've talked to so many life coaches doing what you're doing this right here, and there's no doubt I can see you doing that. I don't know how much interest you have in that, but I feel that would be a great next step for you as far as being able to work with people one-on-one because they trust you. They feel you. You know what you're saying. You have the experience, and you have the yoga background to go with it. If you could combine that somehow, I think that would be a home run. How do you feel about that?
Love the direction. I mean, like I have to do something where I'm doing good in the world. Like I just feel like that's part of my purpose being here. So that's pretty in line with my vision or my way of looking at the world. Yeah.
What's the best part about being you? Let's go back 12 months ago, okay? 12 months ago, and now we're here at the end of May. Looking back 12 months ago into where you are right now, what is the biggest transformation you've recognized how far you've come?
Oh gosh, yeah, 12 months ago till now, I feel like I'm really proud of how well I've dealt with a change that was out of my control. And I think that has happened to me over and over and over again in life, as it happens to all of us. Things happen that are out of our control. We have to respond. And I'm really, really proud of how I've responded to this particular life change. I've had a great attitude about it for the most part. And I've really tried to embrace the opportunity. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel pretty proud of how far I've come.
And I'm going to guess you love who you are.
Yeah, man, I'm the best.
Yeah.
You so should, important. Though. You're the person you spend the most time with. Like this in here.
Yeah.
If you don't like yourself, what are you doing?
It's a hard life, man. I'm telling you, it's a hard life. It's a hard life. No matter where you go, there you are. You have to take you wherever you go with you, right? So you might as well learn how to be your best friend, love who you are, and be content in the body in the skin you're in, right? That's what I say.
And I've been on the other side of that too. It's hard.
It's hard. It's not fun. What's the biggest challenge you're still facing today as we speak, right here, right now? Your biggest challenge that you're working on. It's like okay, I still haven't got this down quite yet. What is that?
Oh, it's probably like it always creeps up is that sort of imposter syndrome and like self-doubt and those kinds of things. Like I am very accomplished in my professional life, and I'm a pretty smart person and all those kinds of things, but I don't always trust that I am in the right place or that I'm saying the right thing or doing the right thing. And so I'm still really working on that piece of like having confidence and knowing that, yeah, you know what, I am an expert in this particular field, or I do actually know what I'm talking about. I'm not just spouting a whole bunch of bullshit. And stepping into that confidence is something I'm really working on.
And what would solidify that confidence? What do you think it's going to take? When will you know you're there?
I don't know. Will I ever be there? I think I'll know I'm there when I don't always have that little part of that brain, that negative self-talk that says you don't deserve this. You know what I mean?
Is it there?
Every now and again, not as much as it used to be, but every now and again you're like, no, you're not good enough for that. But the fact of the matter is, cognitively, I know that I am.
Right.
But our brains tend to lie to us sometimes.
They do. Yeah. They do. Exactly right. Well, you have my vote. Okay. Okay. You have for somebody who can recognize talent, spiritual development, and all the good in somebody. You have my 1,000% vote. And I'm not just saying that. It's very selfless of me to say this because I'm just sharing with you. First of all, I wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. I just wouldn't say anything. I don't tell everybody I talk to that. I don't say it to everybody I talk to, but I'm saying it to you because I really believe in you. I really believe. I feel your energy. It's very profound, Dara. It really is. There's no bullshit with that. It's straight truth, pure truth. And I hope you I hope you feel the weight of my sincerity in saying that, and put a little dribble of that inside your confidence bucket, and let
Okay.
that catapult you and move you along, because I'm not just saying this. I really mean that.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're,
it.
you're welcome. What do you want to, how do you want to sign off? What closing words do you want to tell the person listening right now who's stuck, wants what you have, and needs a little kick in the ass to get there? What are you going to tell them?
Find the thing that you can look at that will help you to continue to move forward. For me, that was yoga. Maybe it's yoga for you. Who knows? Um, it's find the thing that motivates you to get out of bed in the morning, that you can look at when you're feeling like things are bogging you down, and keep your focus on that. The second thing would be present in this moment today as much as you can. That's not to say that you don't plan for your future or think about your future. That's not to say that you don't work on the things from your past. But the more time that we can spend in this moment with this body, with this breath, with this period of time, the more grounded you're going to be in the here and now, and the more contentment you'll feel, because you're less worried about what's coming and you're less anxious about what's past. So
That's
living
right.
right now in today, I think, is a really, really powerful place to be.
It's the only the only moment that's actually real is the one we're in now. The past is gone.
Yeah,
The future's not
exactly.
here yet. They're both, illusions.
Yeah.
I've taken vinyasa, and it was called the hot yoga. I've done both those. What type of
Yeah.
yoga do you teach?
Well, that's the good question. I don't know if what I teach falls into a specific category. It's probably the closest to like hatha yoga, where you
Hmm.
focus on movement, breath that are connected to each other. I don't teach a lot of flow, which is often found in vinyasa. I teach sitting in a pose and aligning the pose and holding it and finding the strength in that particular pose, and then doing what's natural into the next pose. Um, I practice hot yoga. I actually came from the hot yoga studio, which is why I'm so flushed when I started talking to you. I really enjoy it. I
Yeah.
don't teach hot yoga though.
I think the next yoga, we're going to just call it Dara yoga. That's it. That's
Yeah.
Dara yoga. There you go.
We don't have to put it in a box. It can just be what it is.
It is what it is, right? And just put
Yeah.
a name on it,
Yeah.
and that's called Dara yoga. It's very
Absolutely.
versatile. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed this conversation. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to take time out of your day to do this and share your insight with the world, and bless them with your knowledge, experiences, and good, the person who you are. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well,
Loved this conversation.
I loved it too. We'll have to do it again. We have to pop in sometimes, and just kind of give
Yeah.
people an update where you're at in 12 months from now. Like, I am that life coach. I am teaching yoga as a life coach. Who knows where life's going to take you? Let it be a surprise, enjoy the ride.
Totally.
You have everything you need to get where you want to go. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Be fucking bold, you guys. I'll see you in the next one.